What's up, Scorbunny, bringing you this starter analysis prediction video where we're going to be predicting, as you can tell, what the second and third evolution will be for each and every Pokemon based on the information that's given to us, pretty much. So, if you haven't seen the original trailer because you guys are new and maybe you haven't heard that there's a new Pokemon game, here you go. I'm going to put it on the eye thingy, just click on that. And then you're gonna get all caught up. And you know, just in case you did see that, here's another eye thingy, just so you could see all the breakdown secrets that you might have missed, unless you're like a Hawkeye viewer. Then, by all means, you know, amen. I guess I don't really know. But for this one, I think what I'm gonna start off with is watch the rest of the trailer from the starters onwards, because I haven't covered that, and I only am doing this just to look at their behavior, you know. And again, I'm just gonna say this story because you guys might have missed the breakdown video. I was very tired in my night shift job when I first watched this. And I literally saw the preview, you know, when you go scroll over to the thumbnail and then you kind of get a glimpse of what's going on. I saw a Munchlax, so I'm like, oh, it's a 4th gen remake game. So then when I'm watching the actual trailer, I thought that the guy with the hat was Brendan, and then I was really confused when I saw all these Pokemon. I'm like, hey, wait, there's no 5th gen Pokemon and 3rd/4th gen. What game is this? So thought it was a standalone game. And then from this point, when I saw the starter Pokemon, I thought that the Fire Bunny was a legendary Pokemon. And then when I saw the water Pokemon, I thought it was the same Fire Bunny, just with 1 ear instead of 2, even though, again, it was clearly a chameleon. And then when I saw the green Pokemon, I thought it was the same green bunny, only this time it was, did I say same green bunny? Same bunny, but green. And yeah, I was very tired. Until it says Sword and Shield, I'm like, oh, it was a new game. So, yeah, I was very tired. I don't know, like, I get that it was Japan and all, and that they have different time zones, but in my side of the earth, that stuff starts at like 5-6 a.m., maybe sooner. I'm not really sure. I don't remember what time I saw it. I think I saw it at like 5:30 on YouTube. So anyway, let's just go continue with the trailer. So let's see that. So we go start off with the buildings and the oil rigs or whatever the heck, and then the camera turns and we see Scorbunny running up on the little gear wheels. And you see that every time they step on, the little sparks give off, and as soon as he jumps up, you see the sparks still going through there. He's up in the air and then he lands, and then there you go, he slides over through the grass, still smoking on there. And yeah, Scorbunny, he's like kind of like touching his nose or whatever. Maybe it's sensitive because of the smoke or whatever. But yeah, Scorbunny. And then as he steps off, he's looking downward. But yeah, as he steps off, you see some little embers on his footprints there. And surprising that it's not catching on fire completely. But I think maybe because the grass is wet or whatever. But you see some water from the water fountain. You look to see that the Pokemon's camouflaged through the water, and it turns out to be Sobble, which is spraying out a little bit more water from there. He gets out of the fountain, he crawls all over, and you can see that he is like a little bit curious, a little bit like timid, and then he stands there. It's Sobble, the water Pokemon. So he looks back and forth. I'm not really sure why. Maybe because he hears something. Oh yeah, you do hear something. It's tapping of the rock. He gets startled by it, and he starts screaming and running straight for the tree, which it could crawl up on, which is interesting. So it is a chameleon Pokemon. It's based on like the camouflage. But we see this Pokemon right here banging on a rock. Very interesting. And then he crawls away and then climbs up on this wall. But what you notice is that the grass kind of grows a lot bigger compared to the other grass as soon as he leaves. So very interesting. I'm going to keep that a note. There she is Grookey, or he is, I'm not really sure. I'm going to talk about that part later. So yeah, those are all the starter Pokemon. Now, where do we go from here? Now, we see Scorbunny, we see Sobble, and then we see Grookey. And based on what we see on Scorbunny, we see that this Pokemon right here has like orange tipped ears, orange tipped feet. He has something around his neck, which is interesting. Some fluff on the side of his head, and the yellow patch on his nose, and the same kind of yellow coloration, I should say, not coordination, it made no sense, in his ears pretty much. So we see that, and well, what we don't see, well, I'll show it right here, he has yellow patches underneath his feet too. Now, a lot of people are worried that this thing will turn into a firefighting type, me included. I hope that we don't get another one again. That would be kind of dumb, because ever since 3rd gen we had Combuskin and Blaziken. I almost forgot his name, I don't know why. 4th gen we had Monferno and Infernape, and 5th gen we had Tepig and Emboar, all which are firefighting type 3 generations in a row. So even if it skipped 2 generations, I think they just used up that card. They shouldn't use any more firefighting types as it is. But when you look at this, you can't help but think that it has some fighting in it. You know, it's wearing a patched nose, and you could just see his feet is just ready for kicking. You know, it's just meant to be. So a lot of people are worried about that, and for good reason. So we look at Sobble over here, which is very interesting. That I feel like this one could go any direction pretty much, but it's a chameleon, and we see that it camouflages and stuff like that. And it has yellow fin on top of his head, 2 blue ear ducts, or I said ear ducts, tear ducts underneath his eyes. It has like light blue kind of belly, and part of the face is light blue as well. So I really do like the colors here, and then you can see the feet and are kind of shaped in that way. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about Sobble. It's just like, I think it's the most mysterious one of what it's gonna turn into, because unlike the other ones, it's gonna be firefighting type. A lot of people like this. I feel is the most popular one. A lot of people really like Sobble, but I hope that it turns out good, because like I said, this could be in so many different directions, and I kind of have a feeling that people's expectations aren't going to be met, because it could, there's no obvious thing. All the 2 other starters, pretty obvious of what it might be turning into. Sobble is probably the most unpredictable one, which is why I think people's expectations may not be met. So who knows? So then we see Grookey right here. Grookey's a little bit more interesting talking about the design, because it has like little petals of leaves on top of his head with the stick through it. He uses that stick, as you can see, on and off, just like Cubone. It has yellow eyes around his yeah, that's not what I meant. Yellow patches around his eyes, orange mouth, orange hands, and orange feet. I think it has orange feet, and a brown tail with brown ears. So this is based off the Squirrel Monkey, which is pretty cool. I think these are like close. For me, the 4th gen is like the best all-around starters, especially with their evolutions. This one is really close. I feel like this is 2nd place, even though I haven't seen the starters yet. But this is a promising starter line. Now from here, where should we go? So I think from analysis standpoint, we could look at it from all the other generations, how they proceeded to do things. So the first 3 generations is kind of like, okay, I'll just pick a favorite or whatever, because Charmander, Bulbs, or Squirtle, it's already there. I don't think there's really a theme there. They just also happen to be reptiles, I guess. 2nd gen, Cyndaquil wasn't originally supposed to happen. It was supposed to be like a different fire type Pokemon. Chikorita was always meant to happen, and I think Totodile wasn't supposed to happen. Was that it? I don't really recall. But for 3rd gen, Torchic kinda was not. I mean, the evolution from the end, Blaziken was originally with Latios, I should say, and I'm not really too sure about Mudkip and Trico, because like that's a little bit more guarded on what was supposed to be revealed to what. Because first it's a 2nd gen, really close together. They kind of chose the first 150 Pokemon and kept the other 40 Pokemon later, and then they added more after that. So you know, there's that. But from 4th gen onward, there was supposed to be theming on every Pokemon, I suppose, on every starter, I should say. Now, from 4th gen, I would say it was 5th gen and onward, but people are saying that it is 4th gen, because they're saying that Torterra is based off the concept of the world turtle, which is a massive turtle in mythology that carried the earth on its back, hence the trees onto Torterra's back. Infernape has influence with the main character of Chinese tale called Journey to the West, who was a monkey. Infernape also bears Chinese-inspired swirls on it, the same design that appears on Emboar. I'll get to that later on. And Napoleon takes a lot of inspiration from Napoleon, but its mythological origin comes from that of Poseidon, the Greek god of the ocean. You can even see the Napoleon has a trident on its head, a weapon that Poseidon used. So you can see that all the Sinnoh starters are based on myths and legends. So that's kind of what it is. But I feel like that's still of a stretch. That's not really theming, because anybody could say that it's mythological for something, you know. Anyway, 5th gen. So the thing is about this, I'm reading it off something, like some type of article sharing thing. What I've been told, 5th gen is inspired by emperors or something like that. It is true that Emboar is based off like some Chinese mythology. It's been confirmed by some designers that was in the Pokemon team. So there is that. Samurott is obviously designed after a samurai. I wish I saw like a little bit more on Samurott, because he's kind of an interesting Pokemon to me, but we'll save that for a different day. For 6th gen, it's all based on like the ninja, the mage, and the paladin, or the knight, or whatever. Kalos all seem to be based on 3 classic classes found in typical MMOs, or you know, JRPGs and stuff like that. Knight, mage, and ninja / thief. Chestnut being the knight / paladin, Delphox being the mage, and Greninja being the ninja. Can't really say much about them. And then for Generation 7, this one is interesting in a way that like nobody would predict Generation 7. If you sat there and go like, oh yeah, these 3 starters are gonna be themed after a circus, you guys are lying to yourselves. There's just no way. But either way, I don't know. What's the common thing with the Alola stars are relatively unknown. I think they all represent different forms of art entertainment, which ties into the fact that originally people thought they would represent a circus. The Decidueye is clearly an archer, and Dartrix could also be a knife thrower. No way, I didn't even know that. I guess that makes sense because it is Dartrix after all. Incineroar is based off a wrestler, which is Z-moves involving a wrestling ring, and Primarina has a lot of singing motives. Primarina could also tie in with the Fiji mermaid, which has a fake mermaid crafted to the famed freak show, which was a form of circus. So there you go. You kind of see where I'm getting at. All these starters from Generation 4, I suppose, but it's really Generation 5 onward that there's some type of theme behind it. Now, the next thing that I want to look at, because a lot of people are connecting the dots on this, since the Galar region is based off the UK, in my opinion it's just England, that a lot of people are connecting the dots that the starter Pokemon are going to be based off English entertainment or sports entertainment, if you want to combine the two. And by that fact alone, this is the reason why I want to look at again the past generations to see which countries and what stuff are they based on again. So that also hasn't been started till 5th gen and onwards, but who knows, it might be 4th gen, because the first 4 generations I believe was based off Japan. And it is interesting that, like, you know, Infernape is Chinese and Empoleon is France, and Torterra, I'm not really sure what Torterra is based off of. He does have like the world behind his back, so maybe that doesn't count. For the other Pokemon, I don't think they have real mythology origins. I mean, dragons is there's always mythology there, so I'm not really sure about the Charizard thing. Either way, though, from 5th gen onward, Unova is based off the United States. I would say more so New York and like basically northeast, not really anything else. So, you know, they kind of slap dab a city in the middle. And then, you know, you look at the United States and there's no real connection with the starters, because in case you don't know, in the United States we don't really have emperors or, you know, anything like that. We do have mix of cultures, and you want to make the connection there with Superior and Embor and Samurott, but that's like 3 different countries. You know, there's like Embor that's Chinese, as we mentioned, Samurott, which is Japanese, and Superior, which I think they said is France, I think. All of which you could find in the United States, but not really. But that's the connection there. In Generation 6, though, Kalos is based off France, which we do get hints of throughout the game. It's a little bit more than 5th gen, because in 6th gen, you know, we do have Lumio City and the professor and all that, and the clothing, and I guess that's kind of it, I suppose. And then we got 7th gen, Alola being based on Hawaii, so, you know, I guess technically speaking that's 2 regions in the United States, even though Hawaii has its own culture in it, so I kind of understand that. So 5th gen United States, 6th gen France, 7th gen Hawaii, United States, I suppose. And yeah, so from the 7th gen starters is circus theme, I suppose, with Dartrix the knife thrower, and Decidueye the archer, Incineroar the wrestler, and Primarina kind of like the entertainer, or like the singer, or the mermaid. So there is that. I'm not gonna take it away from Alola to say that they never had a circus there. I'm gonna say yes, but that could be anywhere. I feel circus is just like a kind of a universal thing. So really the only generation that really kept home with the country is France. So, you know, with Dungeons and Dragons and that, which if anything would be more fitting in Galar, wouldn't you say? So with all that being said, I just want that get out of the way, just to mention that for that reason I don't think Galar is based off sports entertainment like people are saying. I don't really think that's going to happen, except for maybe one Pokemon. I'll save that for a little bit. So there is a bunch of fan art as well that I want to show off from with the Pokemon I've seen. Now from what I've seen this before, where it's kind of like a possible leak, and it has confidential on the bottom, and there's Japanese writing everywhere, and oh, look at all these expressions. I already knew straight off the bat that this was fake. Straight off the bat, because like a lot of people are going like, well, it's possible that there's armored evolution. I don't think this is the armor they had in mind, because this looks super robotic-y. And yeah, the artist confirmed that it was fake, and you know, they just meant it to look real, but it clearly isn't, in my opinion. Because like this is like a Digimon approach. I don't think any starters are gonna be straight up turned into a robot unless they already started as a robot. But yeah, when this leak was shared, a lot of people were going like, well, might be what the armored evolution for a Pokemon might be, but not for others. But I don't think this is gonna be it. There's a couple others of leaks here and there, quote unquote, on leaks. Haven't really seen a good fire starter that represents Scorbunny that I could actually see in Pokemon, because there's like a whole bunch of them that look Digimon-esque, you know, like this one I suppose. And I see like a bunch of Chungus around here. That's fun. A bit cartoony, but I feel like this is like the closest thing of what it's gonna look like. Because the body stature might have to be changed just a little bit, but this is the closest thing I feel. Now for Scorbunny, who knows, it might not be always like the root word and then it'll be something else. Like for example, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard. You know, because there's all the other starters that doesn't have similar names like Chimchar, Monferno, Infernape, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people have been saying that their fire starters are connected with the Chinese zodiac. So far that's kind of true. I would say though, Fennekin being the fox, people are associating that with being a dog, but foxes are actually more feline rather than canine, so I don't really know. You guys could argue that if you want, but yeah, I think this is the closest one. But my final stamp on what Scorbunny is going to be, I don't think he's gonna do firefighting type. I feel like the designers learned their lesson. If they put a firefighting type anyway, I'm gonna be very disappointed. But yeah, I do feel like Scorbunny will turn out to be a fire electric type. Now there has been other bunny Pokemon before. There's Lopunny, and then there's Baniri, and then Mega Baniri with being a normal fighting type. And then there's also Bumblebee and Diggersby, which is kind of a different approach, with Bumblebee being like kind of a regular rabbit. I mean, it makes sense to me, like the two different rabbits, because there's like Lopunny, that's kind of like the cutesy rabbit, and then this is actually like the rabbit that you'll find in the wilderness and such. But yeah, Diggersby is a good approach too, even though a lot of people think it's ugly. But I feel like it's appropriate for Diggersby because, you know, it's a ground normal type. It kind of burrows on the ground and such like that. So for this one, fire electric type makes sense because it's associating with speed. Rabbits are fast, and when stuff are fast, they either do trailblazing or the fire follows them or whatever. Or it could be like the Sonic approach, you know how I mentioned Sonic earlier, that lightning just shows up. Or, you know, when it comes to Flash too, you know, the lightning really overpowers because it goes so damn fast. I feel like it's the combination of it too. It's like the most fitting thing, and I feel like the difference between what we see here, I do feel like the tail will be kind of on fire, just a little bit, not kind of like Chimchar, but less than that. I kind of picture it like the Mario Sunshine paintbrush. It'll be kind of like that, but just on fire. And then I feel like the top of the feet will also be on fire. I have heard some clever things though from other people saying that like it could be fire steel type if they're going with the soccer route, the football route if you want to say it. That they'll have steel cleats, steel toe cleats pretty much. You know, from the top of his toes and then underneath his toes would have the spike sense to it. That's pretty clever, but I don't think they're just solely going for soccer in the starter thing. But yeah, that's my final stance. I think this is the closest thing that, in my imagination, what Scorbunny's gonna turn. I don't think the back of the hair or the tail is gonna be as big like that, but this is really close. I feel like this is really close. I can't really show you guys what I mean, but I could kind of show off what kind of close of what I'm thinking. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I mean by that, because you know there's like a soccer thing like right here, and I might show you some other fan art. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to show. For Grookey, I'm gonna save Sobble for later, but for Grookey, pretty much. Just like, you know, Scorbunny, there's not really much different they could do because it is a bunny, and you kind of could predict the where's that gonna go because there's only, like, you know, there's already Lopunny that's feminine, and then Jiggersby, which is masculine, and then, you know, there's like the cool and edgy part of it. So it only makes sense for Scorbunny to go in that direction. For Grookey, still not as much like unpredictability, because Grookey could either turn into like a skinny ape or a gorilla, pretty much, and I think all examples and everything leads to being a gorilla. Now I haven't seen any good second evolutions, or as far as I know, because you know how second evolutions are, they're either really cool or they look really bizarre, because it's always like the adolescent confused teenager that doesn't know what to do with his life. But yeah, I think if anything, the closest second evolution would be this one right here. Not really the third one that you see there, but that is pretty good though, I'll give them that. I feel like a gorilla is gonna be the thing though. Now this is where a lot of people are saying that there's a lot of sports entertainment when it comes to the 3 starters with the football with the bunny. A lot of people are associating Grookey, and this makes sense, don't get me wrong, it actually is accurate. Grookey's associated with music because a popular band in Britain is pretty much the Beatles, and you know, they're famous for their drumming and their music and the British invasion and all that. All that's really accurate because Grookey's in other cultures and stuff translates to rhythm monkey, pretty much. And it does show off that when it takes off its stick, it does tap on the rock. And it does have some sort of rhythm to it, and you notice that the grass grew and it got bigger compared to the other grass. That's something that it does. It's kind of like a guardian of the forest pretty much, but it's in its baby stage, so it could only do so much at a little time. It could use a stick, you know, for banging as a drum, or maybe it could use a stick kind of similar to how Link in Wind Waker does it by, you know, composing the grass to be much bigger. So it'll be kind of interesting to see it in the anime. You know, it's kind of like the same treatment though, where Sobble, where it wasn't really doing much because I expected Sobble to cry. I would expect Grookey to be more rhythmatic, I guess is the word, because all I did was bang a rock. Like my thing was, when I was a kid, every time I grab a stick, like, it's just satisfying to hit a rock. I don't know how else to explain it on that. I feel like people understand what I'm trying to say with that. But it would be interesting in the second stage evolution to have like 2 little sticks to be an actual drummer, and then for the final evolution to have these 2 big ass logs. And it feels more fitting to have this final evolution have 2 really big sticks and just hit it just kind of like Honkelder almost. I have seen some good Grookey art though. There was one that was really interesting, but his arms are super long. And there's like this one right here that looks pretty cool. Kind of like more exaggerated in Mega Swampert. It feels like it's almost a different art style almost. Oh, actually, yeah, this second evolution is pretty accurate. I think this one is pretty good. But the final evolution is close, but not quite. I've seen this one all around too. It's like him on a log. This one's pretty clever too. It's kind of the same approach, and with the 2 sticks and the log, that makes sense. But the final evolutions is a little bit too uniformed up. Like, it's kind of clever that like the head is the hat that you know, march band leaders wear, or you know, those security that never moves, guarding the Queen of England and stuff. That is made out of a bush hedge. That's pretty clever, and you know, the drums is made out of wood. That's kind of what I already expected, but not really quite. It's a little bit too human-esque. Because monkeys are fine. Like, you know, Donkey Kong has like this thing where he's tapping on the drums and stuff like that. So, along those lines, that one's pretty good too. Seeing that Oranguru was in the last generation, if that was if he wasn't gonna be in the last generation and like maybe generations sooner, I would have said that Grookey would have became an orangutan, because it just makes sense to me. Because orangutans have sometimes like a lot of moss on them, or I mean they could save it still. They could put it on this generation. It's not the first time they kind of saved it by any means. Okay, so my final stance on this. The second evolution, something along the lines with the 2 sticks and stuff like that. And this one's the main thing for me, because there's this evolution right here. I don't agree with the face. The face looks not quite there, but it's the thing that I was talking about with the 2 sticks, the 2 giant logs on its back. That's what I picture, and it could use it. And I feel like they're gonna be guardians of the forest, because like if Grookey shows it making grass stand up, then I'm gonna give it grass ground. I'll predict grass ground. Like no. Actually, yeah, grass ground's fine. That'll make up for the fire electric type, because then you'll just use fire against them and still be super effective. So yeah, it'll be a combination of this, I feel, and maybe like kind of this is pretty good too. It was a bit hard, honestly. I feel like it's the combination of these 4 Pokemon. Something in the middle of this, I feel, is something along those lines, because they're all pretty good, but this one really gets the idea with the 2 logs behind its back, but the face is just not it, Chief. Just not it. But you get what I'm saying. So I'll make my final step, grass ground. I never mentioned about the Scorbunny thing. Like fire electric type, I think will be the second evolution, and then the third evolution would be fire electric type as well. The first type will still be fire, but for this one, I feel like it won't be grass ground till the final evolution. I really want to say grass rock, and I want to say just grass type only for the fact alone that it seems to be the guardian of the forest. And what I mean by that, it means like it takes care of the forest and makes the grass grow much stronger, and it does that for all plant life, as long as it beats the music. And it kind of reminds me of that Jimmy Neutron thing where like I forget her name. I think it was like Liz, or it's not Liz. It's that one girl that she put like headphones on this plant on good music, and the other one with bad music, and notice that they respond to musics and stuff like that. So I just want to point that out. Either way, Sobble, there's actually a lot of good evolutions here, a lot of good altogether ones, but this is the one where I'm saying that nobody would know where this direction is going to go to. There's so many directions where Sobble's evolution could go. Unlike Scorbunny, that like there's only so many things it could do with like a rabbit. It feels common sense for it to be lean and fast, you know. And for a Grookey, since it's like a monkey beating a stick, you could imagine very easily a gorilla's beating like a giant log, you know. For this one, like I said, I don't really know what the direction is going to be. There's a lot of good ones like this one right here. That one's really awesome. And there's this one right there. That's kind of a different color to it, but that's fine. Not all Pokemon stick to their colors. This one right here. And yeah, there's a lot of them. But it is a chameleon Pokemon, and it could turn into like something completely else. I don't think it'll still stick to chameleon. But my thing is, the way I want to approach this is looking at Sobble's behavior, because it's really shy and it's really timid. And it's not the first time they had shy and timid Pokemon turn out to be absolute monsters. So for an example, I'll use the last generation where we had Wishy-Washy and we had Wimpod. I already predicted that Wimpod was going to turn into a monster too, because it's so coward and fear and stuff like that. And look at it now, once Wishy-Washy gathers all his friends together and becomes the most feared thing in Alola Oceans. And then you look at Wimpod and it becomes one of the most aggressive Pokemon in the 7th generation. Probably the most aggressive bug Pokemon. Or, I don't know, it's pretty aggressive. You know, and there's other examples too where like Magikarp, not really known for being timid or shy or anything, but is known for being weak, and it turned out to be super strong like Gyarados. But the whole point is that, you know, it's from one thing in their little baby stage to a completely opposite thing. So when we look at Sobble, very shy, very timid, easily scared. We haven't seen it crying yet, but we know it does. It's the sobbing Pokemon after all. I feel like towards the end it will turn into a monstrous Pokemon. I haven't really seen anything that's up to scale to being a super big Pokemon, but I feel like, if anything, this is the closest one to what I envision. I haven't really looked into see if what second evolution works, but I guess this would kind of work. I don't think it'll be as cocky or anything. I think it'll still be kind of scared, so maybe it'll be maybe not like that. I don't know. The second evolution is a little bit iffy to me because it really needs a final evolution to really settle down on. And I heard all types of types. I heard Water Psychic, I hear Water Fairy, which is, you know, it could still be a thing, you know. It's not the first time they do multiple type combinations of the same type. You know what I'm trying to say, Jesus. Water Psychic's a possibility, Water Fairy's a possibility, Water Poison's a possibility, and what I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a Water Dragon. Now, I really want to change Grass Ground though, like from the Grookey evolution, but it'll make sense if you try to tackle it for type to type, because Fire Electric will be resisted if you just hit him with the electric move on Water Dragon. It'll be neutral, I suppose, because it wouldn't make sense for like, because obviously Scorbunny's final evolution will be super fast, right? If you over level the first time you're playing and then you see the water starter, you wouldn't be scared of it, because if you're over leveled, then that means your attack is higher, therefore you can wild charge it and one hit KO the thing. It wouldn't make sense for this to be still water type and have no threat to the fire type. That makes no sense. So that's why I think it's going to be Water Dragon to make up for it, and it would have more of an advantage to killing the fire Pokemon, you know. I mean, same argument could be said if it's still over level, it will wild charge it to death, but I only make that point just so, like, you know, it outspeeds the damn thing, so all it really needs is the attack to be higher, you know, ×2 and all that. By taking the ×2, you have more of a fair fight, is what I'm getting at. So when it comes to Water Dragon, it won't have really an advantage for Grass Ground either. With Grass Poison, you'll still have an advantage, but I guess Poison will be neutral, but you know what I'm trying to say. So Water Poison could still be viable, but it wouldn't really counteract with the Fire Electric. You see what I'm saying? So they did have like type advantages in 4th gen where Torterra was Grass Ground, and Ground type is strong against fire types, but Infernape outspeeds Torterra is the thing. So it's still the case with this fire evolution outspeeding Grookey, I feel, because obviously it's gonna be the fastest thing. But yeah, that's my stamp on it. That's why I'm saying Water Dragon type is gonna be a complete monster. I feel like all these aren't as big as they make them out to be. I feel like it's gonna look something along the lines of Godzilla-esque mixed with this one, something like that. I don't really have like a picture representing it. Let me just put a picture of Godzilla, but those are my predictions. The whole point is gonna be a monster. It's gonna be a fire electric fast bunny rabbit hair thing, and then a giant gorilla. But that's going to be it for this episode. If you like this episode, don't forget to press that like button. If you really like this episode, please consider subscribing. In the next episode, or the next part of Sword and Shield, if there's not a new trailer coming out, then I might do the map breakdown, but that might be sometime later, maybe next month or something. I'm just going to space these out, because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, you know. So, white tigers and dragons to you, and you've been skies by the night. I'm out.